What have
Thank,
we here?
we're back. Thanks for being so patient, everybody.
Yes, and for those of you that are watching the replay on YouTube, welcome to a regular, normal
Yes,
episode of Office Hours where nothing went catastrophically wrong
you,
immediately before
you've
going
got us
live.
for an hour. We're going to be great. This is no problem at all,
You've
right?
got it. And if you're watching the replays, make sure that you join our live streams every single Friday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific time so you can join us in the dumpster fire that was the first 8
Yes.
minutes of this broadcast. Nick, hi. How are you? How was your week? What are we doing today? Tell us all about you and the show. Just hit us. Let's do it.
I know. Yeah, let's start off, man. Good week. We ended school this week. We did finals this week. We have senior show and graduation this weekend. So it's like, boy, that feeling, and I'm sure a lot of other folks are all in it too. It's like graduation season all over the place, right? So I'm really excited about that. Today, we are talking about Photoshop. It is back to 200 basic, and we're going to be doing our follow up from our 100 series, right? We're going to be taking
Yes.
in and doing some stuff. Should
Yes,
be
so
fun.
this will be Photoshop 201. I believe we're calling it Photoshop Essentials. We were Photoshop for beginners, and now
Ooh.
we're Photoshop Essentials. And we'll be showing you all kinds of stuff today. So if you want to learn about transforming, if you want to learn about perspectives, if you want to learn about blending modes, if you want to learn about smart objects, stay tuned for this episode. All right, Nick, let's go ahead and hop in. First of all, where can people get connected to our community? Our community. Well, that was a weird
Join
hiccup.
right on. Yeah, there was a good one. Join right into our Discord channel right there below. We've got a fun little area. There's a classroom chat where a few people watch every day and kind of chime in there. And then who knows, we might just bring you on later on in the episode. We have a tendency to do that and get you on here live.
You
There
never
it
know, yeah.
is.
So in the classroom chat, which you can see over here, you can join our voice channel, chat with our friend Elizabeth, and who knows, at the end of the episode, we may ask you to come on and ask some questions live. So if you want to engage and join our community, you can do that right at that link over there, discord.gg/ACC. All right, that's enough of that. Let's hop into some programs and talk about some Photoshop. Nick, do you want to start? Do I want to start? Where do we want to start? Should we let chat pick where we start?
Ooh, sure.
All right, chat.
Let's
You
do
get to
it.
pick between blending modes, smart objects, or perspectives. Those are the three that we're going to start off with. What do you want to learn in Adobe Photoshop? And before we get there, I just want
On-demand
to
learning at its best.
on-demand learning. That's what we do here at Office Hours. So I do want to show you my artboard that I'm going to be working on today. I will be working with the side of a building. I've downloaded this from Adobe Stock. And if you've never used Adobe Stock, you can simply go to stock.adobe.com and check this out. She doesn't know that I know this hack. If you add free to the end, check this out,
Yes.
stock.adobe.com/free. It only gives you free stuff, free 50
I
right
have
there.
that. I have that bookmarked. That's
Boom.
the best way to get around there, man. Isn't that
Everything
great?
there is free, yes. And so we have some answers coming in from chat. We've got smart objects, perspectives, per smart modes. Come on,
For
God.
smart modes, that's a new one. That's in 2023.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about perspective first. I think that a lot of people are curious about perspective. Nick, do you want to start out talking about working with perspectives?
Yeah,
All right.
fantastic. So like basically what I have here is from Adobe Stock. This was a cool little image I found that I wanted to see just real simple ways. This is how I kind of learned how to do quick mockups. And I think you're going to show one other way. I'm going to show maybe even another way you can do this.
Ooh.
But real quick, if you just need to do something unique and get perspective, what I want to do is go over to my library. And I think you guys all remember this fun little badge that we made here from Adobe Office Hours Summer Camp. Remember
Oh,
this
yeah.
little
Summer
fun
camp
one?
was so fun.
That was great. So here's a cool little idea of like, let's say you want to get this on here. So I'm just going to shrink it down, kind of mess around with it here a little bit. Right off the bat, I can kind of do this a little bit and kind of tilt it and start trying to find the best way. But before I do that, because I'm going to go into free transform, I'm going to leave it here. I'm not going to alter or change it because it does mess with the bounding box a little bit sometimes there. So first thing I'm going to do is go into our edit, and we're going to go into transform, free transform here. And basically what I'm going to do is kind of, oh wait, I did the wrong one. Let's go back here. We're going to go here. We want to make sure it's rasterized. Perfect there. All right. Now I can go into transform, and I want to do free transform. So let's see, there we go. All right. Is this going to work? Nope. I think it's here. There we go. So with the command shift command button down, I can now alter and change these and kind of follow the perspective of this piece here. So you get this quick way to kind of just line up these with the perspective of the box, which is kind of good there. And I'm a little bit off here, so we're gonna go like right about there. And there we go. So we can instantly get something really cool and unique to fit there as well. One thing you could do is you can mess around here and just highlight and go over all of your overlays here. So if I go to soft light, you can see it's really gonna just fade away. One of the cool ones is multiply will definitely take whatever you have and kind of show a little of that texture in there. I know you've got some secrets too about like kind of like making this 90%, adding a little noise. I think you've done that a few times in the past.
Right? So yeah,
that's kind of neat.
The secret to adding things. So Nick, if you actually want to like make a copy of that, so I think the hotkey is Control Shift Alt E, Control Shift Option E, and it should make a copy of all of those things, or it should merge it down.
There we go.
It might just be Control E. Try just Control E. It's gonna ruin it. It might be Control Shift E as well. But what I like to do is when you're working with kind of highlights like this, and it looks like maybe your mockup might get a little bit off, I like to add noise on top of the entire image. So actually, Nick, we could just create a new layer and then add noise and multiply it down.
There we go.
Oh yeah, there we go. Let's do that. So you want to. Yep, add some noise there. You may need to add, you need to add some white or some gray there to add that noise first.
Okay, so select all. We're gonna give it a little bit of white. Perfect.
Boom, and then hit it with that noise. And so this is just a way to like hide the imperfections and make it look like it is all one image.
What happened there? Select all, fill. Give
is it filled with white?
There we go.
There we go. There it is.
There we are.
There it is.
We'll go back, hit it with some noise. Perfect. Look at that.
So now,
any specifics you like here, or kind of we're at about 14%?
I try to keep it super chill so that nothing gets too crazy. And so if we hit OK and then we multiply that down, it will just give us that nice film over the entire image. Ooh. And there you go. So you can see that the actual like logo that we have, Nick, if you want to zoom in there, you can see that the logo will have the same texture as the box. So see those little grains?
Unifies it together almost optically to kind of like make it look so natural.
Yes, absolutely.
That's really nice. I really love that. The one thing I've messed with too here is a lot of times if you want to show you've gone this far and you want to have some fun and show something else in layer styles, you could go into the Bevel Emboss. And what this could do is it could definitely get in there and have some, you can kind of give it a different kind of, like if it was supposed to have like a bit of like a pillow emboss. So obviously that's a lot on the depth. We're going to bring that down to about like maybe 22 there. We can sharpen it. We can get the size a little bit more, soften it. What I like about that is if a client does want to see something in kind of a semi deboss or emboss vibe, you can definitely show it there as well.
Nick, I have
way to do something.
Never thought about using those layer styles with a mockup. That is so genius to do like embossing, debossing. You can do all of that right there. And I've never thought like, oh yeah, of course, because the texture is going to pull out at the angle. It's actually going to look way better because it's following that angle. All right, are you going to put that on the front there?
Yeah, I was just going to mess around here, get that in here. Command T, hold the command key down, and you can actually get these over nicely here.
And so there's a difference between grabbing the corners and the edges. If you grab the edges, it's going to move the whole thing. Just a corner will just like rip that corner to an edge.
There we go. So I kind of like the way that look in there. Now, because of the shade too, I think what's interesting is you can see a quick tip to do something fun in perspective.
Yep, and it looks like maybe we crashed again. Give us just a second and see. I don't know what happened, but let's find out. I think that we might be back. Give us just a second.
Okay.
Yep, we went to holding and we're back. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening today. I have never had my software crash before, and today it's decided, you know what? Crash. Okay.
Are we back on now?
We're back on now. I don't know what's happening. All right, Nick.
It must be it's the power of Photoshop. You know what I mean?
It is. I'm so sorry, y'all. All right, so let's hop over, and Nick, you added, just to recap real quick, you added in that bevel and emboss on that side and you multiplied it down just to kind of recap, right?
Exactly. You can see we got that fun little bevel in there. We brought office hours in on the side, multiplied that, and it took all of the lighting on that right panel there to be a little bit darker, and it really does feel realistic.
Yep. So Nick has done that by just dragging and transforming. So I'm going to show how I would do that, but I'm going to use our Adobe Office Hours abroad. So I have the side of this building, and maybe I want to add and push to this side of this building, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it the way that you did and see what happens, Nick. So I want to make sure that I'm lining up the edges. So I'm going to Control T to make sure that I'm transforming. And then I'm just holding that control button. And you see that it goes from the two arrows stretching to the white one. That means that we can move one of them. So we're going to move that over here. I'm going to try to like grab this and bring it over here and this and over here. But it's looking all kinds of wonky, right? This is looking... It's not looking good. So sometimes when you're working trying to get those angles, it's not going to quite work out for you. And here's what you can do is I'm going to drag that image back in, and you can do this with any image, right? We could just paste this, we could draw this, whatever you want. And we're going to use a different technique in the filter panel. So I'm going to rasterize this layer, and then I'm going to copy it. So Control A to grab all of it, and then Control C to copy. From there, we're going to go to our background layer, and we're going to make a copy. Just right click and duplicate layer right there. So we have a duplicate, and we are going to go to filter, and then we are going to go to vanishing point. And vanishing point is a really, really cool filter to do exactly what we were doing. So we're going to click on vanishing point, and right here you can see our image, and it has this little perspective, and this is called the plane tool. Again, this is 201, so it's a little more advanced, and the plane tool is going to allow us to draw on a plane. So I just want it to be on these circular windows right here. So I'm going to click, and I'm just going to click into the corners, right? And I'm selecting these corners of these windows that I can see. And you can see there that it's actually making the plane. So you can make sure that it's following the right angles, kind of line everything up, and you can see where you're about to place this on the plane. So we double click right there, and you can see now we have this crazy grid going on. Now, because I have copied that art, right? I copied the Office Hours logo. I can simply paste it in here, and watch what happens. It's going to paste it up into the right corner, and I can drag this around, and it doesn't look like it's going to do anything. But when I drag it onto our artboard right here, look at that. It automatically puts it at that perspective, and we can drag it around. So it's huge. But we can do that by using the transform tool. I can just bring it and scale it down a bit, holding shift to make sure it's proportionate.
Very cool.
All right, and then maybe I want to stretch it just a little bit to put it on there. There we go. And we're going to hit enter.
Nice.
And now, boom, it applies. Pretty cool, right? So the hard thing is that it does apply directly to the image. So that's going to make it a little bit rough. But here's another way that we can do it. We can actually use a smart object. And Nick, do you use smart objects you probably use them in like mockups and stuff, right?
Exactly. I've been just now learning to build them and make them myself, which is great. Yeah, love this.
So what we can do is we're going to build this ourselves by using a smart object. So what I'm going to do is I am actually going to make a rectangle that just fits this size, right? I'm going to make a rectangle right here. Oh, we're on rounded rectangles. We don't want a rounded rectangle. We want an actual rectangle. Let's go 0 there. Let's fill it with white. And then I'm just going to make a rectangle. So it doesn't matter what it is, because right now what we're going to do is we are going to free transform. I'm going to go to edit. We're going to go to transform, and we are going to go to free transform right there. So I'm going to hold that control key and just grab it and pull it to these edges. Right there. And one more, trying to find my angle right about there. So we'll hit enter here, and then I'm going to right click and make this a smart object. So convert to smart object, looks great. If I double click here, you'll see that it's got this like crazy rectangle going on. That's great. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make a new layer in this smart object, and I'm just going to brush something in here, and we'll be able to see what happens. So right here it's flat, and in theory, when I put it here, it should augment it. It didn't augment it. All right, y'all. All right, we're doing this again. We're creating a new layer. Here we go. We are going to draw with that layer. Oh man, and we are going to transform it into the space. All right, there we go. Oh, here's what we need to do, Nick. This is why it wasn't working.
Uh-oh.
I need to make it a smart object
Smart
before
object.
I
You gotta do
transform
that
it.
first.
Y'all, before.
There you go.
Now we can control, now we are augmenting the actual smart object and not just the art. Here we are. I promise we're professionals. Let's go ahead and find the bottom edge. Let's go out there. And then this is gonna come up here. And actually that bottom edge goes all the way down to right there. So now I hit enter, and the actual smart object is now changed, not necessarily the art. See, the art is still flat here. That's what you want. When you click in, you want the art to be flat. So now I can add as many layers in here as I want, and let's bring that office hours logo right here. So it looks pretty good, and we know that we're going to the edges, so I'm actually gonna scale it down a little bit so that we have a little bit to work with. And when you save that, and come back over here, you'll see that it's augmented it to stretch to that space. So it got a little bit small, so I'm actually gonna blow it up here again. Maybe we wanna scale it in just a little bit. And now, boom, it will live update. So I do wanna show you one more thing here, and it is a blending mode that not a lot of people use. It is called Blend If. Nick, have you ever used Blend If?
No.
Okay,
I've
check
heard
this
of it,
out.
but we've never seen this.
It's magic. So we're going to right click here, and we are going to go to blending options. So check this out. It says right here, blend if, right? So we've got blend if gray, and that's what I want. So I want blend if gray, and it's this layer or underlying layer. So if you drag this layer, pretty much nothing's going to happen, right? We're on that smart object. If you bring the gray down, because it's so gray, it is going to blend all of that all the way down, right? It's just gonna completely go away. The underlying layer, if you start to pull that gray down, all of those whites will start to show through. So you can see it on the windows right there, and I'll zoom in for you. So you can make it, so basically right click, blending options, and then blend if. So it's saying blend if the underlying layer, the gray value is more than whatever the number is. So you can see those windows, see how they're starting to creep through?
Yeah.
So because they're white, it's creeping through because it's saying, hey, blend if the value is over 175, let the background come through, right? So it looks like there's just sliders. We can actually make this super gradual. So we're gonna hold Alt, or Option, and we're just gonna click and drag one of these. And check that out. You can see that it's starting to get very, very kind of nuanced, I guess. And you can pull those sliders apart to get a lot of really great nuance in there on that brick. And the same thing with the darkness. So you see that shadow right there? Maybe we don't want it to hit that shadow. We can simply drag this out and make it so that it doesn't hit as much of that shadow, right? It starts to fade away and gives us that nice kind of blended texture. So check that out. So let's hit OK.
Optical, like such a good little optical illusion, the way it's working.
Yep.
I love that.
And look at the texture that we've gotten on this, right? See the texture that's happening on those bricks? It's the easiest way to grab that texture. You don't have to do any special filters, nothing. It is just using that blend if, and it will blend down onto that brick.
Any tip to get the thing more realistic with the features of the program rather than you trying to get in there and do it all, right?
Yep.
It's doing it for you. I love that.
100%. So this is magic for applying things to like walls like this. If you're doing a car, doing it on the side, which I might do next. I'll show you the blend if on a car because it's really, really helpful to catch the highlights and lowlights of a car. So Nick, let's hop over to your screen because you're going to show us kind of how to use a mock-up in this style.
Yeah, this is to make your own real quick mock-up. It's a very elementary version of, I think, what Andrew just showed. And I'm quite new to making smart objects. I've been using them forever. And it's so neat to break it down and see exactly. What I didn't realize was this is a great way you can do with your own photography and make smart objects and sell them, right? This is a great way to make like a little extra money and make your own kind of PSD mockup. So this was a image we found on Adobe stock. It is just of an iPad. And imagine you can get in there and do all that fun little transformation things and everything. But if you want to build one that multiple people can use very quickly, the thing you're going to do here is you're just going to start with the shape tools and you're going to make a rectangle. So I'm just going to make a rectangle roughly about the size. It does not have to be exactly, obviously it's not even in perspective. So I'm going to get rid of the stroke on there and we're just going to have it as a white box. And then just as Andrew did, if you just do the right click here, you can actually turn it into, oh, I got to do it right here, I believe, in layers. We're going to click this right here and we're going to turn it convert to smart object. So once that is done, the cool thing here is I always go right to it and rename it. So this is where you can say, you know, double click to insert your art, because you always see that when you get a mock-up, right? So that's always there. So there we go. We've got that ready to go and it is ready to like mess around with and play. So just like we did earlier, I'm going to go back to that layer here, and with the command T, we're going to select it. With the command button down, I am going to position these corners directly in that. And I found a nice easy one where there was no overlap of the fingers or anything else. So it's an easy one to show off here. So now we've got that ready to go and it is there. And here's exactly, now this is how you get it when you get a mock-up and you see the whole little layer there to double click. So I'm going to double click on here and notice it has taken that funky perspective and it's flattened it to completely just horizontal, vertically, nice and parallel and straight.
Which is what we want.
Exactly.
And
so I'm going to go to my libraries.
Working with smart objects is the way to do this because you don't have to worry about any of those angles. Like all the perspective just sorts itself out and it's super quick to change stuff. So Nick, if you're doing like iPads like this and you need to show 7 different screens, you don't have to have 7 different mockups. You can just have one mockup with 7 different layers on that smart object. Smart idea. You're right. So all I did was once that was done and I have this, sometimes I'll just copy this into Illustrator if I'm laying out the graphics for it. So I've got just the right amount of space and I know the dimension. So I took our little office hours, you know, ready to go here as like this. And you can see it's a little bit off. So I'm assuming, let me do a quick save and see what we did here. We'll go back to our smart objects. So there we go. It did get a little warped. So I wonder why that happened. Let's see if I'm going to give this a warp and see, it's probably going to fit quite nicely then. Let's see. Give me a second here because this is not the best way to do it, but I'm just trying to do it for the quickness of our thing here. I'll hit save. We'll go back to the smart object and there it is. So you can see it's gotten a little bit here. I'm a little bit showing some of the white. So we're gonna make this a little bit bigger. Get rid of the white there and there. We'll hit that. Always hit save when you have the Smart Object 1 open and go back, and there it is. And you can see it's actually really kind of matched the perspective quite nicely. You can go in there and obviously do like a little like lens flare, or you can do some dodge and burn and kind of pick up some of the shadows in there as well. But for me, I think you're right. You build it once, and now you've got something great to use over and over again, particularly for screens, laptops, iPhones, watches, whatever you're going to be building it for. Yep, absolutely. And I do want to take a quick little break because I think that our Twitter friends just showed up. Hi, everyone. Hey. Nice to see you. There's a lot of you in here. This is Adobe Office Hours. We're here every single Friday at 2:30-ish p.m. on Fridays, behance.net/live. So thanks for joining us. You can hang out, join the chat, say hello, let us know where you're watching from in the world. We have an awesome international audience that watches from all over. And if you'd like more information or you'd like to join us, you can join the Discord right down there, discord.gg/ACC, and even join our classroom chat. We have a live voice chat on this show, and you can hang out with some people in the classroom chat. And if you have a question, let us know, and we will bring you on live on the show to come in and ask a question. So we're covering Photoshop 201 today. And I'm going to hop back into my Photoshop. And I just did this quick mock-up for us to be able to see this logo on the side of this van, right? So it looks good. Actually, it doesn't look good. It looks okay. It looks mildly okay, but we have like the white over here. It doesn't look like it's real. And especially the reflections that are happening on the side here, right? It doesn't look like it's necessarily real, and I really want it to look real. So what I can do is I'm going to go ahead and increase the curves here because I want it to be much, much brighter. And I can do that by going into our panel right here and adding an adjustment layer. So we'll go to curves. Actually, let's maybe do brightness contrast. And we will increase that brightness by just dragging this up. So there we go. We're getting some brightness. I do want to keep some contrast in there because I want these shadows to kind of blend, but I want this to be a little bit brighter. All right, so we've got it in there. And now we can grab our logo, which is right here, and we are going to multiply it. So when we multiply, you can see we get rid of that white, and we've started to get like some of these little pieces, but not enough. Not enough for what I want. I want these reflections to like affect how it's reflecting, right? I want it to look like the gloss is over the image and not under, right? If that makes sense, right, Nick? So right now it looks like the gloss is sitting under the image and we want that gloss to be over the image. So what we can do is we are going to use that blend if again, and this is just going to be a better example. I'm going to turn on blending options right there. Just re-click, there we go. And blend if gray is what I want. And so you can see as I pull the darks up, it is going to take away a lot of those dark areas. So you can see that it's literally just taking away. You almost never want to use the blend if on the top layer. So on the top layer, it's pretty much just gonna take stuff away. Even if we kind of pull this and use the alts to make it different, it's just gonna augment. We never really wanna use the top layer, at least in my experience for doing this. Now, to get that awesome texture sliminess coming through, we are going to use our Alt key to drag our underlying layer down, right? So you can see there that it, excuse me, it's starting to take away from those highlights. So we want just a little bit of those highlights to show through. So I'm gonna use that Alt key and click and drag, and you'll see how it will start to merge. See how it's starting to merge those lights just a little bit, just a tiny little bit right there. So we've got a little bit of texture there. So it looks like they're kind of growing. And then we want the darks to do the same thing. So we're gonna drag this up and we'll see when it hits the right gray. There we go. It starts to just completely fade away. So we're gonna use that Alt and just drag up a little bit to have it start to shine through on that little area right there. Let's pull a little bit more here. See if we can get that through.
It looks so real. It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah. All those little highlights, reflections, it's all working.
So look at that. So it looks like now, right? The gloss, you can see, especially right here, is showing through on this. That reflection is showing through, and it looks so much better. So let me do a copy without the blend if turned on. So let me go ahead and just reset these and watch the difference. Okay, so this is with it off, no blend if, right? And this is new info. Nice. A lot of people are learning today. Yay, that's what we want for you here on Office Hours. So this is what it looks like without that blend if, right? It's just multiplied down. And now if I turn it on, there it is with that blend if. We get all those little juicy kind of pieces showing through. And it's just the perfect way to make a mock-up. So use blend if. If you haven't used blend if, use it. It's a great, great, great way to do some mock-ups. Nick, let's hop back over to your screen. We're learning so much today. Nick, what are you doing over here in Photoshop?
Let's hope this is something everyone has maybe not seen before.
Here's the reality, guys. We're just gonna zoom in here. We've been having a rough show. It's a rough show today. We're having some tech issues, but we have fun. We have fun here. We answer your questions and we learn things together. So hopefully you're tuning in, you're loving it, and hopefully you're having some kind of fun, and hopefully you're learning something. So let me know in chat if you have learned something today, despite all the tech issues.
Yes.
And Nick, if they haven't, do you want to try to teach them one more thing?
I'd love to, because
Let's do it.
It would be something if me, Nick, the novice, the intermediate Photoshop user of the duo here, can show you something new. So this is something I did not know you could do. Found a fun little trick here. So let's say you want to warp type, but you want to keep the type editable, okay? Usually what you have here, now I've just kind of written out summertime and I've got it as a text layer. If I go up here and I try to get into transform, you can see I got warp here, but I can't do anything with it because it hasn't been rasterized yet, right? There's nothing possible to do. Typically what I'd have to do is I'd have to go here, we'd have to rasterize the type, and then I can go into here, we go back into transform and I get warp, and now I can do all the fun little things here, right? Now the problem here is that is no longer editable type. So
Yes,
if I
and
want
this
to
is
keep
like
it live,
we're trying to make like a super trendy, like wobbly psychedelic type with this, right? That's kind of the end
exactly.
product we're going for.
Yes,
All right, cool.
exactly. So here's the trick. With the summertime type live ready to go, you're going to right click on there and you're going to convert to smart objects. Okay. So if you see here, I double click here, I have that. That is kind of my live version. Okay. That's ready to go. But if I go back to this here, now I'm going to go over to the transform. We'll go to warp. Perfect. So we get all that same fun stuff here. Now here's where you can have some fun. You can definitely mess around here. I can definitely taper this and make it look completely, you know,
And you're just
cowabunga.
clicking and dragging on those little anchor points, right?
Exactly. Now here's the cool stuff. You can kind of grab the anchors as well. You can see these little toggles and we can kind of mess with these as well. I can take this one, make it a little bit more sharper. I can actually go right into the middle and kind of like maneuver and have some fun here. Wherever I click and drag is kind of like a bit of a pull anchor, you can see. So I can go all over the place. We can get this to where we want it. Now, let's say we are cool and we love the way this looks. But right now, in most cases, we could not do anything if let's say the client comes back and says, you know what, summertime, we want it as one word. That's the way we registered it. We don't want it with the space. So all you've got to do is you just double click back here, you get your live text one, and what you're going to do is go right in here, get rid of the space, you hit save, come back to here, and it has taken your warp without anything, and it is a live text, and you get this beautiful, all the warping ready to go, still editable.
Whoa, so this is basically a smart object inside a smart object?
Well, exactly. You've basically made that type a smart object. You've manipulated and everything, but it still keeps the real live text. However you've typed it, you can even go in there, I believe, and actually change. This will be something interesting. Should we see if we can change the typeface and what would happen?
Let's see if we can change the typeface.
Oh my God, this is going to be crazy. So let's just pick something very similar, but a little bit different that fills the same space. Let's go with, that doesn't look like it. Let's find something fun. What we got?
Ooh,
adventure. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna hit save. Let's see what happens. Oh my God, it did it.
That's cool. It cut off a little bit on the tie, but it did.
Yes.
It did change the font. That's incredible to be able to do really, really quick kind of resolutions and different versions without having to rebuild the entire thing, right? Nick, I know that you do a ton of packaging design and you have like 7 different variations. You can do this with all those variations so quickly using smart objects.
Oh yeah, and then saving them in your library as well is a great way to go.
Yep.
That's a great idea.
Yep. And I think that the way to think about this is
I have to plug in my laptop before you're going to lose me in a second. So give me 1 second.
Please go, Nick. Please go.
Turn my camera off if you need to.
Welcome to the chaos. Okay, so how I want to explain what's happening here is it's basically like layers, right? If you've ever worked with like an animation cell or you think about like a plastic kind of overlay, we're basically just working non-destructively in Photoshop. We're trying not to change anything. We're stacking stuff on top of it. So we have the text, and then on top of that text is the warp, and then on top of, we have our image, then on top of the image is the text, then on top of the text is the warp, and then on top of the warp is the blending mode. So we're just stacking stuff on top of each other and making it so that nothing is actually being changed. It's just affected, right? And all those effects start to apply in different ways. So I want to show one more way, and this is going to be a blending mode. I saw somebody asking about blending modes, wanting to learn more about blending modes. So I'm going to go back to the side of my building. This is looking great right here. And let's say that I would like to create a new layer. We're going to create a new layer first. So we're just going to Control-Shift-N. Nope. That is hold on. We're in the wrong window, y'all. All right, here we go. Control-Shift-N, and we're going to make a new layer here, and I'm going to hit OK. And on this new layer, I am going to, of course, convert it to a smart object. Now, we're not going to mess with it right now, but we are going to double-click here, and I'm going to add a background color. And I'm just going to add this background color so that we can kind of see better. And so I'm adding a background color here. And then on top of it, I am going to maybe do a brush, right? And maybe I want to do like a spray paint on the side there, right? And let's say that I want to do Longo. Let's just do Nick's names. Actually, let's do OH for office hours.
Perfect.
We'll do an OH for office hours, and I'm just going to make that whatever color we want it to be. Let's do it in white for now, because I think it'll look good on that brick. So I'm going to make it white, and then we are going to scale that way, 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 way up, because it is very small. All right, so we've got our text here. Let's go ahead and make that white with the color picker tool. Oh, let's do that. That's fun. All right, so we're just going to drag this. And maybe we want to do kind of a double, right? So let's double it up here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and make sure that this is looking okay for us to use as a smart object, right? So it is the smart object right now. I'm just going to save it, and then we're going to bring it back into our building. So we're back into our building. It's looking good. And this is where we want to try to shift it onto the side of this building. So we're going to Control T, and then we're going to use, we're actually just going to scale this down real quick, and then use these anchor points to really anchor it in at the perspective that we want. You know what? I'm going to use the sides like you did, Nick, to kind of just match up this angle.
Cool.
And make sure that that looks good. So there we go. Maybe one over here. And then this kind of comes up here. Let's see here. Oh, I hit the wrong button. That was definitely the wrong button. There we go. We want it to kind of just be, maybe we just put it on the couple in the middle right there.
Sure.
All right, so we've got it there. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit larger. Andrew, pull it together. All right, so we make it a little bit larger and we'll put it there. Great. I want it to look spray painted though. Nick, how would you make something look spray painted in Photoshop?
Oh, wow. I would try noise, and then I'd probably try some of the layer styles that would, I think just by exploring them, you see sometimes you get that effect almost by accident, right?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group those two together. Actually, here's what we'll do. We're going to delete one of these because we don't need two separate texts. We can literally just type it in. So we're going to do this. That's kind of fun. Little Panic at the Disco vibes.
Nice.
And we are going to change the blend mode to dissolve. Yes, someone in chat got it. So immediately on changing to dissolve, you can see that it's got these little pieces kind of on the edge. Yeah. And it looks kind of cool, but it's not all that I want. And dissolve is basically going to take any like gradations and make them stippled. So anything that is fading to gray, it's going to kind of stipple them out. So I'm going to go to filter, and I'm going to go to blur and Gaussian blur. And we are going to convert this to a smart object again. So we're converting to a smart object, and now we're going to blur it out. And you can see as I blur more, we're going to get more of this harsh edge right there. So we want this to have a pretty harsh edge, to be a little bit crazy. And we'll hit OK. And now you can see that that blur is applied to that smart object right there. So let's go ahead and zoom out. Looking pretty cool. And let's see how it's looking on our actual wall. So we'll save
anything to kind of fool the eye. That's exactly what it's doing. And it's making it look more real to the environment.
Yep. So it's not looking great, but maybe I want to add a little bit of detail to it. So I can come back here and let's go ahead and use a brush. So we're going to create a new layer, Control-Shift-N. And we're going to use a brush. And I'm going to make this brush pretty large. So we're going to make the size a little bit bigger. Oh, let's make it a lot of bit bigger. There we go. And then we're going to make it super soft. So bring the hardness all the way down. And so as we do this, we are going to add a mask. So we're going to click down here on a mask, add a layer mask. And from here, we're going to be painting with black. And watch what happens as I start to paint with black. See those little pieces kind of coming out? Yeah. So you're getting that nice spray paint texture. That's happening because the blending mode is working with the dissolve. It's working with the mask that's happening. And it's also working with that Gaussian blur. So it's doing all of those things at the same time to create this really cool effect. Now, if I wanted to, I could create a new layer on top and actually add in more. And just like we did here, if I start brushing, you'll see it's not doing anything, right? If I'm brushing in with white, it's just crazy. But maybe I want to add some nice stippling. I can change this to dissolve, and we're going to make it a little bit smaller. We're gonna make the brush just a little bit smaller here. And then you can see we can kind of add in these little sprays. So I'm just adding in an extra layer on top, and it allows me to get that nice little spray painted hit on some of these pieces.
Because it's never all 1%, like uniquely the same degree, right? There are those little punches of extra paint. It's always a little bit different.
Exactly. And I'm just going to, again, just kind of bring this down. So we've got maybe some little drippies happening here. Mm-hmm. And check that out. That looks really, really cool. So now I'm going to turn off that background layer. We're going to save this PSB, which is applying. And then we are going to go back here and check that out. Look at that. It is spray painted on the side of that building.
That is awesome.
That's awesome. So we can actually come in here and maybe play around with other layer styles. And maybe we want to do something like this, or maybe even a hard light. Soft light kind of looks cool. We can do vivid light.
This is where you can start to see, which one might just surprise you, which one works. These are so great to mess around with.
What I like to do is just layer. So we can layer and maybe use a couple different ones. So maybe we use another hard light here, but then move it just a little bit.
Have you ever done it, like sometimes I'll take it I'll make a black version of it or something and have it the base, then put one right on top of it, and again, mess with the layer styles as well.
Yep, and you're actually able in those layer styles to right click, go to blending options, and then we can change the color completely. So you can click on color overlay, and then maybe we want it to be red on this wall. Super quickly, look at that, we have red. That's awesome. Now, the problem with this is if you are using a color overlay, it will no longer take whatever the blending mode is. You have to do a group and then make sure that that group has the blending mode. So there we go. So that's what we want, is we have created that group and then use the blending mode to create that multiplied effect on there. And maybe we want to do some color burn on here. Color dodge. Not quite.
But you're right, that does add another bit of realness to it. Like it's the unevenness really shines when you pop that up.
Yep, it's got that nice little, there we go, let's do linear burn. So it's got that nice little spray paint kind of texture on there. Looking pretty cool, looking pretty good. And
it's almost like they're all good. It's just what effect are you going for?
Exactly. And then what I would want to do is over this entire image, I would hit Control-Shift-Alt-E, and that's going to make a copy right here. And then I would do my little trick where I'm just going to add a little bit of noise over that whole thing. Let's add maybe 10%. Oh, let's not add 10%. Let's add maybe 5% right here. And there we go. So we've got that nice little noise, and it starts to take away some of that kind of digitalization. And now it looks like maybe that was spray painted on the side of that building.
There you go.
Magic. We have to go up here. All right, so something is about to happen. Nick, what's about to happen is we have one more thing that we want to show. Do you have another thing?
I have a quick one if we can do it.
Nick has another thing, but here's what's going to happen. Because we started late and there were some weird things that happened, guess what's going to happen, y'all? We are going to get cut off on Behance. But the party is not stopping. We've got another 10 minutes left in the show. So if you're watching the replay, just stay here, keep watching, ignore this. But if you are on Behance in exactly 3 minutes at 27 minutes, whatever time zone, jump over to YouTube with us. Finish the show out there. We'll do an extra 10 minutes exclusive content with you.
I love it when that happens.
Yes.
It's actually kind of cool.
It's kind of fun. So we'll be heading over to YouTube at 27. This will leave Behance. You can just click on the title of this video. It's right. Actually, Nick, can you point up?
Yes.
Right there. There's the title of the video. If you hover over, it will take you over to the YouTube. Join us over there once this disappears, or at like 26. We'll announce it. But in the meantime, again, Nick, where can people join our Discord where we will be posting an announcement of this? And look at this. People they're posting some screenshots from what we were working on showing the before and after of that blend if. So if you've ever created something or you want feedback on something, you can post it right here in OH Homework. And look at this. Frank is already designing along with us right there. And yes, our moderator said there won't be chat for YouTube, which means, Nick, what does that mean? Where should they go for a chat?
Discord. Why not?
Go to Discord. Let's go hang out. No, let's hang out on Discord with chat. Chat will be in Discord, and we'll be heading over to YouTube in exactly 2 minutes. But look at this. Frank has already put in some perspective. And Nick,
Frank.
look at this. Okay, so I'm actually gonna try to open this in Photoshop because I do want to show something that's happening here.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you've ever printed something, you can see right here that ink, when the light hits it, turns a weird color, right? It reflects whatever's in the room. And so using those blending modes, it's actually picked up that color really, really well of what it would look like if that was
with
ink.
That reflection. Yep.
Yes, fantastic job. And again, if you ever have work or want to get feedback, you can post it right here in the Office Hours channel. All right, everybody, it is time. It is the moment. Click on that title right there. We'll be heading over to YouTube to finish up the show. We've got 10 minutes. Nick has an exclusive content for you. So Nick.
Exclusive content.
Exclusive content. Adios, Behance. Let's go over to YouTube and finish up the show. Nick, what are you going to show us? What's the last little trick that we got?
Again, I think we've set ourselves up perfectly. You showed an incredible thing about layer blending and all those things that you can do. I'm going to show you a great way to do it where I use it to build my mood boards, or what I call them brand boards. And this is where I've got all of my fun stuff. I'm building a little brand board to show the client before we do any designs. And my theme here is like modern, contemporary, handmade. And it was for a toy company that we're going to be doing stuff. So what I love to do is, with all of my stuff that I have found, I typically just bring some of these things right in from my libraries. We have some fun kind of messing these around. I like to make these as basically haphazard. Is that the right word?
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think that there's a couple different variations. Let's talk about this for a second because I'm actually very interested in your thoughts. There are a couple different variations of mood boards. Do you like the chaotic version? I like super structured mood boards to show to clients. Do you think there's a benefit on either side?
I like collage craziness because I'm going to show you the actual blending of the layers that you just did a lot of. What it does in this world is it shows these little happy nuances happen between some of the stuff that you're bringing in. And I think it's stuff you wouldn't technically think of until you just messed around with them for fun.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
It's funny, yeah, because the mood board is all about communicating the vibes. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that literally the vibes are just right.
Exactly.
It's all about the vibes.
Exactly. So watch, I'm going to show you here. I'm just brought this in. I'm bringing that one in the back a little bit here, but I always go for overlays and overlaps, because when you start messing around with some of these things, you're going to see that you're going to get I love bringing in textures and stuff like this, where it's not so much framed square images. I try to get things that are isolated, or I break them out, or you bring in line art, you bring in textures, you bring in unique things that would be a little bit different. Like this one here is on a white background, but if I bring it in here and I put it to the front here on top, but I give it the multiply, I'm getting these little fun areas where things are overlapping. And what I love about this is, if I'm going to show this to a client, I want them to see the interaction of the artwork I could possibly create. And you might just get something really cool in there that does come and actually become something you would use in the actual concept art where you're going to do. This is always found imagery and really cool stuff like that. So literally I'm going to go in here, just start messing around with kind of you can see here, you get the preview when you kind of hover over here. So I'm working with that cool little image on the side there. Maybe I'm just going to do that as the multiply. But if I go to the next one here, which is this guy, I'm going to bring him in front, because I want some of that overlay as well. I'm going to do a multiply as well. So to me, this just gives me that fun little effect to kind of mess with things. You can even go in and find some of these ones, like you were saying, look at this. I've just brought in a whole other color palette that wasn't there before by just messing with some of these unique things. Luminosity gives you that. The pin light gives you this. Linear gives you something different, right? Yep. So I love this idea of to me, this is almost like fun. And what turns out is something, I try to make this as something that you would consider a really cool collage that would be frameable. I think that was the difference we were talking about at the beginning when you were talking about you make a much more structured one. That's where I start. But what I want to show the client is something that's just maybe a little bit more interactive. Do Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and it's interesting because this feels like a space, like it's creating a story and it's giving like an emotion. Whereas usually I create really structured mood boards that it's more about like the visual aesthetic. This is more about the emotion to it. And I actually love this technique, Nick. This is super interesting to me because I don't do this.
Isn't it? And I love the idea too that, like, let's go back to our to this one. Where was it? This one here. That got blue, so I'm going to go back to its normal one here. There's cool. That's a little bit darker. Just because then I brought this cool little heart shaped in, and that I gave it a quick little drop shadow just to see, would that do something different, right?
Why not?
And yeah, and then this, we previously matched it, but you can see I can bring this play and create over. Why won't that come over here? Let's see. Oh, because I have type selected. Let's get this here. And you can see I can obviously go in there and change it, but it kind of works nicely there as well.
Why not?
But I try to bring in lifestyle. I try to bring in patterns. I try to bring in textures and line art. I try to bring in real objects like that patch. You want it to look as like it's this perfect collection of all the possible little things that you can create. One thing I love about this is I've seen a huge difference in when I do share this with a client as opposed to the structured one. They love the interactiveness of it, and they love the vibe of these things, like even just like you can see again, bringing in something as simple as that and letting it have some interaction with the other stuff. To me, those are those little magic spots that actually just might make it to what you're actually going to be presenting in your first few things there.
Yep.
So to me, this is a fun way to get to know all of these different layer styles. And to me, I never used these that much. I think they even scared me at a certain point. But when you have something fun to mess with, I think you get a little bit more kind of like an experiment happening here.
Yep.
And why not turn it into something you're actually going to show your client?
Absolutely. So as far as exclusive content goes, here's what I'm going to give you for exclusive content, Nick. I'm going to tell everybody about why it's called multiply, because I don't think that like people understand why these are called what they are. Can you zoom in to where you have something multiplied and then select that layer and just unmultiply it real quick?
Gotcha. So I believe we've got, let's see. It's that wireframe piece here. It should be up here.
All right. So here is all right. So let's zoom in on that and let's change it to not multiplied. So just regular right there.
Normal.
Yep. Normal.
Ooh, there we go.
So there we go. So right now it looks like it is just gray, right? It's just gray kind of sitting on top. And if you think about it, gray in the number values of that color, right? A lot of those numbers are going to be 0, right? All of the colors are the RGB are probably going to be 0, but then we have, or CMYK, CMY is 0, that K is at like 20, right? And what's happening is this is so much math, is it's all math. It's called multiply because it is multiplying the number values assigned to those colors with the number values of the objects below it, color values, right?
So like right here, you're seeing it here, but it's not really, let's see, do I have let's get this guy on. Where's the heart? There he is. The heart we're going to do is normal. All right, gotcha. So this guy, when we click this back to normal, you're seeing mostly grays, right? That's what you were saying?
Yep. And you can see that it actually makes the darker parts of that knit. So see the tiny little like dark parts of the knit? It is making it darker because it is multiplying those numbers by those numbers. So if you're thinking about that, multiply always makes things darker because multiplication always makes numbers bigger. I know that that's like, you tune into a design stream, you're like, why are we talking about math? That's what's happening under the hood and behind the scenes. Yeah. And that's why white completely goes away when you multiply it, because it's like multiplying by 0, right? It completely goes away. So that's how multiply works. That's your exclusive content for today. And Nick, if people want to watch, where can they get involved? Right down here. Oh, right there at our Discord channel. Yep. And of course, you can always watch us every Friday. Come back next week. We'll have it together. We'll try. 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. Thanks for sticking with us. Hopefully you learned something. We love you guys. We think you're great. Stay creative and have an awesome weekend. Unless you're watching this on like a Tuesday, then like, I don't know. Have a great Tuesday. Have a great Tuesday. We'll see you next week for another episode of Adobe Office Hours right here, Adobe Live, 2:30 every Friday. Bye. Bye, guys.